Hey guys, welcome to my first drive video on Volkswagen's brand new Mark 8.5 Golf R. Hopefully you've seen my recent GTI Clubsport video, which was shot a little bit earlier today, and this video is going to be a similar sort of recipe. In the UK, the 8.5 Golf R is going to start at £43,900. If you want this black edition, you're going to pay an extra 1,200 quid. I think it's £45,100, which is a lot of money. But when you bear in mind that an entry-level Audi S3, which as we know is very, very similar to this, well, they start at 47.5 grand. So this top spec black edition is still 2.5 grand less than a base spec S3. This particular press car is loaded up with options as you would expect. It has things like the sunroof, head-up display. It has dynamic chassis control, which out in Germany is standard on the Golf R, but unfortunately in the UK, at least on the base Golf R, you have to option that in. I'm not sure if it's standard on the black edition at this time. This car also has the performance pack fitted to it, which lifts the top speed from a limited 155 to about 168 miles an hour, which I think should be quick enough for you in your hot hatch. And that performance pack also includes the beautiful and decent sounding Akrapovic exhaust. In terms of styling and changes over the Mark 8 version, well, just like the GTI Clubsport, we find a revised bumper and splitter down the side. We have badging on the doors now. When you get around the back end, you've got new rear light clusters, which look very, very cool. And you've got some new wheel designs. This one being the black edition, well, yeah, you guessed it, it is very, very black. If it was mine, I would want the wheels in silver, but then I guess that would defeat the black edition name. Under the bonnet, we have the familiar EA 888 engine. It's a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged unit. It now produces 333 horsepower and 420 newton meters of torque. Although those figures seem quite familiar to me. I think that's the same output as the Mark 8 Golf R 20th anniversary or whatever they called it. The car that I was lucky enough to skid around in Sweden for a few days with Volkswagen a couple of years ago. That's still probably the best press launch I've ever been on. All of that goes through a 7-speed DSG gearbox and is fed to the ground via all four wheels with Volkswagen's 4Motion all-wheel drive system. They say this will do the 0 to 62 sprint in just 4.6 seconds for the hatchback and 4.8 seconds for the estate or the wagon. So it's great to see that they're continuing to make the Golf R wagon, because I still think that is an absolute little weapon, really practical little toy. It's almost like a mini RS6. Top speed, unsurprisingly, is limited to 155 miles an hour, unless you go for the performance package, which this car has, and then it's lifted to 168 miles an hour. First things first, let's test out this car's claimed acceleration figures. I'm in Sport Plus automatic. I've got the traction in Sport. Left foot is hard down the brake, right foot accelerator, launch control program active. Here we go. Oh, that is so strong off the line. And there we go. 4.2 seconds to 60 miles an hour. So you can add a tenth of that. What does that bring? 4.3 seconds. Still makes it 0.3 of a second quicker than Volkswagen claim, which doesn't surprise me. And this being a Golf R with all-wheel drive traction, I bet you it would do 4.2 or 4.3 seconds come rain or shine. If you haven't already seen my GTI Clubsport video where I talk briefly about the interior, we'll go over it once again. There's been a couple of updates in here, but not too many. Remember, this is just a facelift. One of them is the infotainment system and screen. It's much bigger, maybe a little bit too big for my liking, but more importantly, it's so much better. I've had a little bit of time to play with it today, but I've spoke to a lot of trusted friends and journalists that have used it for longer than a couple of hours, and they all say it's night and day better than the previous system, which isn't hard, but it's definitely a big relief. Something else they've changed in the majority of the Mark 8.5 Golf lineup is the steering wheels, and they've reintroduced regular buttons. But in the Golf R 8.5, we've got a very similar looking wheel. My hand still touches the heated steering wheel button, which normally in the middle of October out in Germany would be quite a nice welcome. But seeing as it's 21 degrees out there and I've been running around like a madman all day, I don't want that on. So it's a bit of a shame to see that they haven't just removed those silly haptic buttons in this car. I don't know why they would keep it in the flagship Golf R. They're being a bit stubborn about that, if you ask me. But otherwise, everything else is lovely in here. These are perforated leather seats, I believe. I would personally take the cloth seats over these because, number one, they'll be warmer in winter without having to put heated seats on. Number two, they'll be cooler in the summer. And number three is I find the cloth or material gives you a bit more traction or purchase, so you don't move around in the seat as much. But saying that, they're very, very nice seats, very comfortable, and definitely supportive enough for the majority of things. Because this particular press car has DCC, dynamic chassis control, I've got about 15 different damper settings, and if I knock it back into comfort, even though these roads are beautifully smooth, it definitely feels like it has a good ride quality. And I know from various Mark 8s that I've tried with DCC back in the UK, well, they do feel relatively good for a hot hatch. But obviously if you ramp up to sport, race or individual, you can play around with that and stiffen it right up. You probably never want it in its stiffest setting, except for maybe out on track on a very smooth circuit somewhere. Let's ramp it up into race and pull that back so we've got sports automatic, pull a paddle, just talk about how it feels. Well, we already know it's very, very fast in a straight line, nearly 4 seconds to 60 miles an hour. I mean, that's quick enough for your hot hatch. I know cars like the A45S and Audi's RS3 are slightly faster again, but really, do you need that in your hot hatch? You pull out of here, it is ballistically fast. I'm sure the instrument binnacle and the graphics have changed slightly. You get this lovely sort of color change as you're going up through the revs. It's brilliant, really, really nice. I've got various different views to look at that, but I always resort back to the rev counter in the middle with the speed down below. I wish it showed me the speed in the middle like it does in the GTI Clubsport. Maybe there's a setting for that, which, yeah, I'm not too familiar with this car. I've literally been thrown in it today, and although the weather has played ball, as always with these press launches, they're always very, very rushed, and I struggle to get what I need. Someone like Petrolped is very good at just switching cameras on and getting on with the review, whereas I've got OCD about a lot of things, so it takes me a while. Anyway, we are just about to join a de-restricted bit of the Autobahn, so let's just give it a little bit of a high-speed blip along here, see what it goes like once we get the speeds up to bigger numbers. So that's fourth on the floor. Well, that's 120 miles an hour. It's a hot hatch, just madness. A 4-cylinder hot hatch as well. That is the strongest I've felt that EA 888. Look at it go. Well, that's 200 kilometers per hour. We've now got an Audi something or other holding us up. It's going to move over. Probably not. Just like the GTI Clubsport, it's so stable at big speeds. Hot hatches never used to be stable above 120, 130 mile an hour. Never, ever, ever. And the brakes, they feel so good. Really, really good. Okay, we're going through this corner at 235, 240. Just over 250. I guess 333 PS horsepower-ish. That's more than the original M135i, and that was a 3-litre straight 6 turbocharged engine. So when you put it into that perspective, it's really, really impressive out of a 2-litre. This, like the GTI Clubsport, it has what they call a preload turbo. So essentially the turbos, when you're in the more aggressive modes like sport or race, the turbos spool up so much quicker. So the initial throttle input, everything's there and ready. There's no lag, it's there. You touch the throttle and it picks up almost instantly, which is definitely an improvement over the Mark 8. Let's rewind to a little bit earlier where I got to take one of these out on track and experience some of its driving dynamics. Right, the 8.5 Golf R hatch out on track. Well, it's pretty quick in a straight line. That's probably no surprise. What does it handle like? Little bit of understeer. I'm only allowed to have the traction in sport, which kind of ruins the chassis dynamics. Oh, there's a little bump there. Yeah, I can feel the power being taken from beneath my foot. But boy, oh boy, is it quick in a straight line. Got all the pings and bongs going off. I don't know what that bong is. Oh, tragic understeer. I've been in a few cars this morning around here. It's probably my 10th lap. But unfortunately, pretty much every car I've been put in has been binging and bonging at me. It just makes filming and focus very difficult when you're going around a circuit you don't know behind a very, very capable instructor. Oh, see, just there. I know if everything was switched off, the car would have rotated lovely on the apex, but because everything's switched on, it just didn't. Right, we're going to slow things down now. I know the Mark 8 Golf R is very capable out on track because I spent an entire track day in one about 3 years ago when I had the UK press car. And because it was a normal track day and because I'd organised the insurance, etc., I was able to turn everything off. And that car was transformed the second you turn everything off. Everything on, it was a bit of a dog. Everything off, it was really capable. I've also experienced the Mark 8 Golf R 20th anniversary out in Sweden in the snow with Volkswagen. And once again, obviously we had everything switched off. And that car almost felt rear driven. It was amazing. So I'm in no doubt that this 8.5 is as good as the 20th anniversary, if not a little bit better. But out on circuit today, with traction switched on, you just can't feel that. We're now back on a de-restricted bit of the Autobahn, put it into fourth, and here we go. And there is 200 kilometers per hour. Feels very strong, this car. Very, very strong. Got a big headwind, we're going uphill. It's going to be a bit cautious around here. It's unreal. It's right-hander at almost 260 kilometers per hour and back into a slow zone again. I love the instrument binnacle. I love it. Love all the colours. Big headwind. We're going to just nudge 250 here again before we have to get on the brakes. There we go. Does it feel any quicker than the GTI Clubsport? I'd be lying if I said it did. Obviously off the line this is much quicker, up to about 60 miles an hour. Well, we know it is. It's well, over a second quicker in reality, and it will be even quicker than that if it was wet weather. But once you get it going, it's probably no surprise that they feel very similar, because although this has got more power, it's got more weight, it's got more drivetrain loss as well. Let's just watch this car, make sure it doesn't pull out. Well, typically we didn't really get to experience this car's top speed, but we did get close. I think I saw 256-ish, which is well over 150 miles an hour. It feels so planted at those speeds. It definitely had more in the tank. I'm sure without the headwind and without the traffic, I would have definitely seen 270, 275 indicated. Can't be fast enough surely for your hot hatch. It really has. And as I said a little bit earlier, I think once the GTI Clubsport and the Golf R are moving, there is basically nothing in it between them. They both feel equally fast, and that would make sense when you look at their power to weight ratio. As with so many first drives, especially international press launches, it's very hard to give you a proper verdict, but what I can tell you is the Golf R 8.5 is an improvement over the Golf R8, which was already a really good package. The simple fact they've got rid of that tragic old infotainment system is a massive bonus, and the fact that they've added a lot of the dynamics from the R 20th anniversary really makes this a proper driver's car. I guess the last thing to talk about is Golf GTI Clubsport or Golf R, because they're very similar money, and I'm sure if you're PCPing either of them, the monthlies are going to be very, very similar. I think they still offer two different packages. One is obviously front wheel drive, the GTI Clubsport, and one is all wheel drive. But what Volkswagen have done with this 4Motion system over the past few years is make it more of a driver's car, more of a driver's platform, make it more exciting. It now moves around when everything's off and is more engaging to drive. In the past it would always be the GTI or the sort of lightweight Clubsport edition for me, but now it's more of a tougher decision. I think if you lived out here in Germany where the climate's maybe a little bit harsher and you actually have to run winter tyres and you drive in a bit of snow during the winter months, and this car's probably going to make more sense. But for outright enjoyment and drivability, surely the lighter GTI Clubsport is going to be a little bit more fun. But it's a close one. I'd love to do a proper twin test one day and compare the two back to back on a circuit with traction and stability switched off. Anyway, my voice is going. Our plane takes off in about 2 hours, so I've got to unpack all my cameras and head off to the airport. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Leave any comments or questions below, and I will speak to you very, very soon. Take it easy. Cheers.